सेव किया था ना?
मैं सिर्फ इसलिए गया था क्योंकि उसने मुझे कॉल किया, that's it. But listen तो.
Save it for someone else.
जिंदगी में सेव करना जरूरी है, मगर जब बात पैसों की हो, सिर्फ सेविंग से काम नहीं चलेगा। इक्विटी म्यूचुअल फंड्स में इन्वेस्ट कीजिए और अपने सेविंग्स को आगे बढ़ने का मौका दीजिए।
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
News cycles are brutal, so a lot happens every day that overtakes what's been going on. See, for example, how the Ukraine war seems to be forgotten now. So much so that for months now, I haven't featured Ukraine war in an episode of Cut The Clutter. And don't worry, I'm not doing that now. I'm referring to something else. There is also a crisis in Manipur. That crisis is now 5 months old. It started on 3rd of May. It's now 5 months old. People are dying. Houses are burned. People have been rendered homeless. A most comprehensive ethnic cleansing of the kind that we might have seen, say, in Punjab during the partition. That kind of ethnic cleansing, in fact, an even worse ethnic cleansing has taken place, because even in Punjab, some Hindus stayed back in Pakistan and some Muslim enclaves survived in this part of Punjab, in our Punjab. In fact, some of those enclaves are flourishing now. So there is Malerkotla, for example, in Punjab, and Nuh and Mewat in what used to be Punjab then. But in Manipur, no such thing. A total ethnic cleansing has taken place. So much so that even the police patrols that go out to one locality or one community are fully consisting of people, of soldiers or policemen only of that community. That is the kind of ethnic division that's taken place. There is a big crisis in Manipur, and we've been overtaken. In the news cycle, this has been overtaken because there is Justin Trudeau and his provocations, and then Indian responses. There is also an election campaign for the 3 states, which seems to have begun in earnest. There is also finally, and the latest, Bihar government coming up with its caste census. So in all of that noise, it is our effort that we should not let you forget what is probably the most serious internal security crisis in our country. And it's a matter of enormous concern that in 5 months, our mighty state, it is very mighty, and India can be very strong, has always been very strong when it's come to protecting itself externally, but also internally. India has been very tough in this situation. So with all those methods, the situation in Manipur is not getting better. In fact, the latest turn tells us it's getting worse. I will give you some examples, and I will also tell you that at ThePrint, it's expensive to send people to Manipur, but we have consistently kept fine reporters and camera people in Manipur because we give the story the importance that it deserves. There is no commerce involved in this. There is no eyeballs challenge. There is not a question of how much will it be seen, will it go viral or not. This is a big story, the biggest story in our national interest. So as I conclude this episode of Cut The Clutter, I will also give you an idea of what we've been doing by way of covering Manipur. So what is the latest thing that's happened now? The latest thing is, as we know, that in the last couple of weeks, a crowd has tried to attack Chief Minister N. Biren Singh's personal house. It's not a house in which he's living now, his personal house, his private house. Again, a mob tried to attack the house of BJP State President A. Sharda Devi. The mob that went for the Chief Minister's house, they were stopped, they were not able to reach the house. The mob that went for the party president's house reached at least the backyard of the house and tried to set it on fire. Fortunately, they were removed and the house was saved. So that is the new turn. Now you might say, there is so much disturbance going on. What is so remarkable about crowds coming in to attack these houses? The remarkable thing is that so far the dispute in Manipur was between Meiteis and the Kukis. Now the two communities have been separated. Kukis are in the hills, Meiteis are in the plains. In between, the Army and Assam Rifles, which is a central paramilitary force but commanded by army officers, they've created buffer zones or neutral zones, so no side can cross them. So that situation does not exist on the ground right now. What has happened now is If that situation doesn't exist, then who is it that constitutes the mobs which tried to attack the Chief Minister's personal house and the BJP party president, state party president Sharda Devi's personal house? That is the key thing. These are Meiteis. So far, you would have thought that the Meiteis see Biren Singh government as their government, right? And Biren Singh government has been seen to be pro-Meitei. They also live in the valley. 27 of BJP's 37 MLAs also happen to be Meitei. Most key functionaries of this government, of the state government, have been Meiteis. Meitei population has seen this government to be theirs, and that's how Biren Singh has been very popular among them. Now, if the same Meiteis attack his house and that of his party president, who is a Meitei herself, that tells you that the situation has changed. So what is the evidence? I will give you some incidents. I will come to that. But biggest evidence is this letter. This is a letter that Bharatiya Janata Party Manipur Pradesh unit has written to the party president, JP Nadda. It's a letter to JP Nadda, a short letter, 1.5-page letter. I'm sharing screenshots of both the pages with you. You can keep them if you so wish. But if you see this letter, this also explains to you what has changed in Manipur and why this has to be given the significance that it deserves. So number one, I'm just reading out the points from the letter. The letter it's a very pithily written letter, and the letter has 8 points. I will just go over these points and tell you the highlights and simplify them, and also tell you interpret for you what each one means. So point number one, and this is what the BJP in the state is telling their own high command. Number one, public anger and protest is now turning the tide. What is the meaning of turning the tide? What it means is the Meiteis are turning on their own government. Public anger and protest is now turning the tide, putting the sole onus of this prolonged disturbances solely into the failure of the government in dealing with this situation. And then they go on to say, we know that our government is also working unstopped day and night so as to bring back normalcy in the state. Some of the key important issues which the general public demands both the center and the state to act immediately are highlighted below. So these are the key issues of which I give you the highlights. So point number one, that government should immediately restore the free flow of traffic on the 2 national highways going across the state. So one is National Highway 2 that connects Dimapur has an airport also. Dimapur is the roadhead of the Nagaland state. So from Dimapur to Imphal, that is National Highway 2, and National Highway 37, which connects Manipur with Assam. That free flow of traffic should be restored there. Now, these are highways blocked by mostly by the tribal population who are protesting. Now, to restore the free flow, government has to use very strong arm methods, which means a Meitei police or Meitei government, or at this point, an exclusively Meitei government will have to use that force. And then this letter goes on to say, you have to clear the highways even to the extent of using coercive means such as arresting those unwanted elements who are now trying to create trouble. Next point, immediate resettlement and rehabilitation of all displaced people in the original places where they lived earlier, and to give them compensation is due, no controversy about it. This is what should happen to everybody. Next, and this is again important, effective implementation of suspension of operations, SOO ground rules. Any violators should be called terrorists, and any violation should be treated as terrorism. Now, suspension of operations is something that came into being between Kuki militants, central government and the state government quite some time back. And it looked like the state government was losing patience with it. So in March, at some point, there was talk that state government was withdrawing from it. Nobody can withdraw from it unilaterally, at least nobody between the state and the central government. But it looked like the state government was showing no inclination to persist with it. And that became one of the causes of conflict and one of the causes of resentment among the Kukis and fear among the Kukis that they will be left weaponless while Meiteis were looting armories and getting armed. So that's been an issue. The Meiteis in this case, speaking through the BJP Manipur unit, they are saying that effective ground rules of suspension of rules should be implemented, and any violation should be treated as terrorism. What this means is disarm the cookies. So disarm the cookies and deposit their weapons in safe houses as was done earlier. It does not say disarm the Meiteis. So Meiteis continue to remain armed. So in each point, there is a little politics. In fact, more than a little politics. Then number 4, very important, to remove Article 355 if there is any such thing imposed in the state and restore full command of the unified command to the Chief Minister, as it would re-establish full confidence and trust in the government. Now what had happened was, when situation had got completely out of control and Home Minister Amit Shah went to Manipur and spent almost 4 days there, which is unprecedented in India's history of internal security. I don't remember a Union Home Minister spending 3.5, 4 days in any disturbed areas in one go. Even when he went to tribal areas, the Chief Minister did not go with him or could not have gone with him. So divided was the situation. At that point, the DG of police, who was a cookie, was in his home, not able to come out or not able to assert any authority. At that point, the central government used powers that it has under Article 355 of the Constitution. More than the powers, it's the responsibility to protect people of every state in the country from external and internal threats. So government at that point took over command in many ways. The Chief Minister was not removed. My opinion is that he should have been removed, and if he was removed and a proper president's rule was imposed, then we would not be reading a letter like this, a letter which is actually quite subversive. We would not be reading like this. Anyway, that did not happen because ultimately political interest triumphs in every case. So opinion out of the way, center set up a unified command. To head that unified command, the centre brought in a very experienced officer, and that experienced officer is Mr. Kuldeep Singh. Kuldeep Singh used to be acting director of NIA, National Investigation Agency, that is our premier anti-terrorism agency. He was also DG of CRPF. He is a very senior officer from West Bengal cadre. So he is heading the unified command, and he does not report to the state government. He does not report to the Chief Minister. He reports in directly to the Union Home Ministry. Now you might say that in the constitutional scheme of things, state government is in charge of law and order, but for Manipur, a special dispensation has been created whereby unified command does not report to the Chief Minister because all communities do not trust the Chief Minister. So if the Chief Minister does not have the trust of all communities and is seen as the leader of one community, which is heavily armed right now and is a combatant, the centre did the right thing by creating a unified command directly under itself. Now the BJP itself, the ruling party itself, is demanding that those powers under Article 355 or those responsibilities, centre should dispense with them and hand over the unified command to the Chief Minister. It's not going to happen. That's my view. But important thing is that just making this demand amounts to the BJP in the state pushing back at the centre. And that is not something we are used to seeing under the Modi, Shah, Nadda dispensation of the BJP and its state government. So that's a new thing. The next point, they say five persons were arrested. They were all Meiteis for walking around in combat uniform, armed forces combat uniforms with lethal modern weapons. These 5 were arrested by the local police. All 5 of them got bail, but one of them, Moirangtham Anand Singh, was re-arrested by NIA as an insurgent or as a terrorist because he is formerly a member of what used to be PLA, People's Liberation Army, in Manipur. He had then come over ground, etc., but he was still seen to be a militant/terrorist. So NIA re-arrested him, and that's where he is in custody and undergoing interrogation, etc. So again, the state BJP wants him released. Again, an unusual demand. Then they say, number 6, destroy all poppy cultivation. That basically is the allegation that cookies are using forest lands to grow poppy and there's a lot of drug trade. So once again, target the cookies and destroy their poppy farms. And they say this process should be jointly monitored by a committee of civil society organizations, which by implication means only the Meitei civil society organizations. Then they say apprise MHA of the need of early completion of biometric capture of illegal Myanmaris so that an NRC can be carried out in the state. Now, NRC in any state of the Northeast, Assam has had one and Assam has not had happy consequences from it. to talk of NRC in any other state in the Northeast at this point is highly destabilizing. Number 8, and the last point, a joint MLA's team, they say, has been waiting in Delhi to meet the Prime Minister, and Prime Minister is not meeting them. So please find time with the Prime Minister. So once again, it's the state unit of the BJP pushing back at the central government. We haven't seen that lately very much. Now, what are some of the immediate provocations? So I told you about the arrest of these 5 in armed forces uniform with lethal weapons. 5 were arrested by local police, all bailed out, but 1 retained or detained or re-detained by NIA. That Meitei community is now asking to be released. That's an issue with them. Then there's the issue of 2 Meitei students, a 19-year-old boy and 18-year-old girl. 19-year-old boy, the name we can tell you, Himanjit Vietim boy. But the girl's name we are not telling you, simply because although she's not a minor, but we are not telling you because the civil society groups in Manipur, the Meitei civil society groups are claiming that she's been gang raped. So we are being very cautious and very correct and not telling you her name. Anyway, how does it matter? Because these 2 disappeared on July 6 and haven't been seen since then. Now they were seen in a couple of the CCTV footages on the day of their disappearance, near the tuition center where the girl used to go for her tuition, and also in the Bishnupur area. Then they haven't been seen. Then some pictures have surfaced now. So these pictures, we'll try and find those pictures for you. In one picture, you can see this boy and the girl sitting, apparently in the custody of 2 armed men. So now the Meitei community believes that these are Kuki militants. And then another picture that looks like the bodies of these 2. So it looks like the belief is among the Meiteis that these 2 were kidnapped and then put through torture, etc., and then killed. In this case, the CBI has gone to Churachandpur and arrested 4 Kukis, including 2 women. These have also been removed to Guwahati. Now, along with them, 2 children was also arrested. So initial stories were, oh, children are arrested, but children were not officially arrested. They were with the women. So these children have now been handed over to the child protection officer in Guwahati district. So this is the state of play in Manipur, and you can see that there can be no argument that this is a very serious crisis which is festering. And it's okay, it's one thing for us not to be mindful of what's happening in Ukraine. All right, it's a war that has gone on for a year and a half now, maybe it will go on for some more time. Our interests are involved, but our people are not involved. It's not on our soil. Manipur is a war or a warlike situation in which our people are involved on all sides. Meiteis, Kukis, Nagas, they are all our people. At the same time, it's a border state and it's a crisis on our land, not 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 kilometers away. That's why Manipur is important. That's why you might have noticed that from May 3 onwards, May 3 is when the trouble started, we have had teams of reporters and photographers, camera people sitting in Manipur and reporting for you. So we had May 3 to 4 Karishma Hasnat. You will see some of the stories, screenshots running on your screen, and also the pictures of these reporters. Karishma Hasnat, May 3-4, when trouble started, she was there. Then from May 9 onwards, Moushumi Das Gupta, our deputy editor, and Suraj Bisht, our photographer, cameraman, they were there. Then May 16, again, Karishma Hasnat was there reporting from Churachandpur, the Kuki area. Then May end to June beginning, Sonal Matharu and Suraj Bisht were there, and they broke that story of those 2 women, which later features in that unfortunate, awful video as well. June into July, we had Ananya Bhardwaj and Praveen Jain, who had a long tour of duty in Manipur, and you've seen many of their stories, and some of these will run on your screen as we talk. Mid-July, Sonal and Suraj were back there. Again, you can see the stories they did. July end, now Ananya and Suraj went back there. I told you that we are ensuring that we have reporters and camera people all the time. And when it's such a difficult situation, they have to run relays. So we have a star cast of brilliant reporters who've been running relays. So one set is there, a new one comes in, the first one hands over the baton to the new one and carries on. So July end, Ananya and Suraj went back to Manipur. Again, did a bunch of stories, including on Mera Paibi, and also one story describing why the police are struggling to investigate cases. Also, they gave us a count of the weapons stolen, which remained stolen even until then. 3422, they said 3,422. August end to September beginning, now Karishma Hasnath was back in Manipur for the third time. She is our Guwahati correspondent. And September again, Ananya, this time with our photo editor Praveen Jain, they were back in Manipur. And they've come back, those stories have been done. And as we speak now, Shreyashi Day, who's our correspondent in Kolkata, she's on her way to Manipur along with Praveen Jain, our photo editor. So we are making sure that at least at the print, we are not taking the story lightly. It's not cheap to do this. It's very expensive to ensure this coverage and keep running these relays of fine reporters and camera people in Manipur. But we do that. We do that mostly because some of you people are good enough or generous enough to take paid subscriptions. I wish there were many more of you, because one thing we will not allow at the print is to have a really important story from the national interest, a really important story slip out of our radar screens just because it's too expensive or it's too onerous, or even if it's too dangerous for us to be sending reporters and camera people there to bring you the story from the spot.